Also known as blue ear pig disease, the first PRRS cases in the United States were reported in 1987. While the exact origins of the virus are murky, its impact is all too clear. The disease is now found in pig production facilities around the world, accounting for the death of as much as 20% of livestock produced annually. Its impact is environmental, psychological, and personal, not to mention economically devastating for the swine industry. By some estimates, annual losses in the United States exceed $600 million. Porcine reproductive and respiratory syndrome is characterized by two overlapping clinical presentations: reproductive impairment or failure in breeding animals, and respiratory disease in pigs of any age. Vaccines are typically administered when the pigs are already showing symptoms, but by then, it is often too late to save them. Even if the pigs survive the infection, their immune systems are usually too weak to combat secondary infections like pneumonia that can develop. Just a few infected pigs are enough to decimate an entire herd. Attempts to breed PRRS-resistant pig populations have also not worked out well to date. Alongside breeding efforts, scientists in academia have also studied the genetic basis for PRRS infections. It turns out that several genes are involved in viral infection. U.S. regulators are expected to approve a disease-resistant pig breed in 2025, opening the door to wider adoption of gene-edited farm animals and crops. 30 years after the first genetically modified tomato went on sale, the promise to revolutionize farming with genetic technologies remains largely unfulfilled. But 2025 could be a turning point, with new products demonstrating the untapped potential to reduce the losses of animals and crops to diseases. In the coming year, regulatory authorities in the U.S. are expected to approve a pig gene-edited to make it resistant to a common and devastating disease. That approval could open the door to a much wider use of the technology. 2025 should also see field trials in the Philippines of a banana altered to be resistant to a major fungal disease that has spread to many countries worldwide. If the Philippines adopts the banana, other countries may follow suit. It is estimated that, globally, between 20 and 40% of livestock and crops are lost to pests and diseases. Reducing these losses would have many benefits, from helping keep food prices down to making farming more profitable and reducing the environmental damage it causes. In fact, making farm animals resistant to viruses such as flu could even help reduce the risk of another pandemic. So far, however, so-called BT crops designed to resist various pests are the only genetically modified GM plants of this kind to be widely grown. In 1998, GM papayas resistant to a viral disease saved Hawaii's papaya industry, but adoption of disease-resistant plants elsewhere has been slow because of opposition to GM foods. There is no large-scale production of any kind of GM animal. The international breeding company Genus might just change this. It has used CRISPR gene editing to make 4 breeding lines of pigs resistant to the airborne virus that causes porcine reproductive and respiratory syndrome, PRRS. Production can fall 7% on farms affected by PRRS, so it leads to major losses globally. We continue to make progress with FDA, Food and Drug Administration, approval of our PRRS, resistant pigs, and are still on track for approval sometime in 2025, says Clint Nesbitt at Genus. The rollout of the PRRS-resistant pigs will also depend on approval being granted in the major export markets for U.S. pork, so sales might not begin until 2026. Once the necessary approvals are in place, Genus expects strong demand given the huge losses farmers suffer because of the disease. Indeed, the head of a pig-producing company in the UK, Robert Beckett, has urged the UK government to approve the resistant pigs as soon as possible. I am fully supportive of the adoption of the technology to help tackle the devastating condition of PRRS in the pig industry, says Beckett. If all goes well, the public could be faced with the choice of eating pork from gene-edited animals. Historically, the conversation around the production and consumption of genetically modified foods has been very polarizing, but the public response in this case may not follow historical trends given the central reason for the gene editing in the first place. Early consumer research conducted by Genus indicates that consumers are more open to CRISPR-edited foods when there is a good reason for the genetic modification. Given the impact PRRS has had on the livestock industry, there is a clear benefit here.